Hey, everybody, welcome back to our live event. Hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas. Hope you had some downtime and time with family. So, real quick recap what we talked about last week. We talked a lot about budgeting and tracking and all that. There's the replay posted out on the Facebook page. It's also up on YouTube channel as well. You can find that at youtube.com/@retirewisepro. All the replays will be posted there as well in case you can't find it on the Facebook page. They'll be posted automatically on our Facebook page right after we end the live. You can do searches and look for videos on Facebook, but if you ever have a hard time finding it, you can also go out there on the YouTube channel as well. That's not a problem. So they'll be posted the next day. So I encourage you, if you have not watched it, go back to the one from the week before last. We took last week off for people to attend services and things like that. Go back and watch the budgeting and tracking. We'll retouch on budgeting and tracking as we go through, our different series and videos. We'll refer back to that. Before that, we also talked about the treasure target. One thing we're going to talk about today a little bit is the 4 H's of financial freedom. This ties directly into the treasure target. You're going to see a lot of correlations between the two. So what I want to do tonight is go through the 4 H's of financial wisdom, finish up with setting priorities. This is going to finish kind of setting the foundation from a biblical standpoint, and these play right into the core principles of building your finances and being good stewards and building a financial future for yourselves. Then from there, starting next week, we'll dive into more hands-on and practical teachings on different aspects. At the beginning of the Facebook group I mentioned, we're going to be all the different things that we're going to be going through. You can review that up on the description page of our Facebook group as well. So next week we'll start diving in. We'll talk about things like debt management, investing, retirement, credit histories, all kind of different things, insurance and whatnot. But tonight, let's continue on with the 4 H's of financial wisdom. I think this is a great little tool. You'll see the correlations to the treasure target, and I'm going to be referring back to that treasure target as well as this 4 H's financial freedom as we go through this series and as we go through the different topics. So we're going to be coming back to this. So let me go ahead and share this four H's of financial freedom. Let me put this up here for you guys. Make sure you can see it. After the live, if you go to our guide section on the Facebook group, so if you're in the Facebook group, there's a guide section. You should see a guides menu up top. When you go into there, you'll see several different things posted. You'll see some of the faith and finance documents, the treasure target. Tonight, I'll post this document out there as well so you can see it. You have a little bit of homework to do to kind of assess yourself on this afterwards. So you'll have what to do. So I'll put that out there as well. So let's get started and talk about this first part. So we have the heart, health. If we go down, you got habits and hopes. So let's talk about each of those. Those are the 4 H's of financial freedom. This will tie in the biblical principles as well as the foundation for your financial core principles. So let's look at the first one, your heart. Behavior follows the belief, right? So where your belief is, your behavior kind of follows that. Kind of, you think back to some of the biblical verses and, where your treasures lie, that's where your heart lies as well. Same kind of principle. So your belief system and what you believe, your behavior is going to react around that. So if you look at the different quadrants of the heart that we have up here, we have stewardship, and you have the Bible reference up here. I'm not going to read all these different Bible references. You can download this tonight and go through and read those different verses. It's a great little practice to kind of get yourself into the mindset for the rest of this financial freedom aspect and planning for your finances properly, tying into biblical principles. Contentment, that's on the right quadrant. That is huge. And I think so many of us, myself included, have a large problem about being content, content with what we have. Faith in the left, and then wisdom. So if we look down a little bit, stewardship, do I believe that God owns it all? That goes back to the outer circle on that treasure target, that God owns it all, and that we're being stewards. Are we being good stewards of what he has provisioned for us, right? Contentment, do I believe what I have right now is enough? God, is going to provide, and he gives us what we need. Of course, he also gives us the skills and talents to make a living and the skill set to, make money, those kind of things. But being content and where we're at is huge, not only in our lives, but also for financial side. People get really wrapped up in the emotional side of finances. We'll talk a lot more about that when we get into investing and the emotions that tie into that. But that goes right into your purchases and your financial management as well. We kind of talked a little bit about that last week. about the marketing practices and how they play on that emotion. So being content, that's a huge one to control the emotions there. Faith, do I believe that I demonstrate my faith through my finances? What are you doing with your money, right? Are you being good stewards? Are you giving back? Are you helping others as well as taking care of your family? And being good stewards also means providing for yourself and your family and building for your future so you can take care of yourself and be able to take care of others later on. That's going to tie off into the hope section here in a minute. If we scroll over here to the right under health, today's reality. So these are the 5 simultaneous competing priority areas for our money. We're going to go through priorities at the end here, but live, give, owe, 2 O's, taxes and debt, and grow. If you notice, that goes back into our treasure target as well under that O section and the different layers that we have in there. So live, practice provision, contentment, and enjoyment, because money is a tool. And that's pretty powerful. Money is a tool. What do we do with that tool, right? God can allow us to use our money as a tool, and how we use that tool, kind of ties back to our behavior and being good stewards. So how we're living, how we're practicing, using that provision, for God's kingdom, but also for helping others and also building our own financial security as well. Give, open my hands to release God's resources. He wants my heart connected to the kingdom story. This goes back to obviously, our faith and our stewardship and what we're doing to advance His kingdom and helping others. You're going to see again that tie into the margin area when we get to the hope here in a second. And then you got the 2 different debts, the O's, the debt for like credit and your taxes. So eliminate debt, because debt's always presumes upon the future. The debt, what that means is debt is holding back your future because you're tied or you're a slave to that debt. Now there's good debt and there's bad debt. We're going to talk about that in a week or two about debt and how to manage that properly. And then taxes, pay with gratitude. They reflect God's provision. I know it's kind of hard to think about that, but taxes is a provision that God has given to us. There is a government set up. We're blessed to be in the United States and have a strong government, regardless of your feelings about government. But there are services that we benefit from. Even the simple things is like firehouses and those kind of things. We do get benefit from paying taxes, regardless of how we feel about it. And then if we keep on going down here to habits, so sorry about that. 5 biblical principles. So the action item is going to be here. Actually, let me scroll back up. Here we go. We're going to have an action item around this to grade yourself, but the 5 biblical principles: give generously, avoid use of debt, set long-term goals, and plan for financial margin. And in the middle, spend less than you earn. That goes right back to what we talked about last week, is having a budget and tracking it so you know what you have, you know what you're earning, you know where it's going, and you can track that properly. Notice that's in the center, and it's a core puzzle piece to the rest of those 4 quadrants. You got to have that in place to know what you're doing and be able to give generously, avoid debt, plan for financial margin, and set long-term goals. So set long-term goals: saving for college, buying a house, saving for retirement, plan financial margin. That means do you have a little bit more than what your needs are on a daily, monthly budget basis, so that you can give to others, so that you can help others and also build for your future, right? All right, so we scroll over here to the hope section, tomorrow's promise. Changing habits to increase margin is the only way to meet long-term goals and align our hearts and hope toward eternity, right? So if you look at this margin meter, if you will, struggling, I'm not able to make ends meet, living even below paycheck to paycheck, surviving, living paycheck to paycheck. I'm getting by, but I don't have any margin. I don't have any extra. I don't have any give to, have emergency funds or invest in the future. Stable, saving some, have a little bit of emergency fund, but we're not quite over the hump there. Secure, saving for long-term goals. And surplus, I have more than enough. That is a big margin where you're able to not only bless others, but also help yourselves in building for the future. I like what it says down here at the bottom. Without margin, it's difficult to respond to God's calling on our lives and to meet the needs of those He has put in our lives. If we're struggling, if we're just getting by, and we don't have that financial margin, when God places something in our path to be able to help people or to serve or whatever it may be, we may have that obstacle of finances to not be able to do it, even though He's given us the opportunity to. Because if we're not being good stewards, then it's hard to achieve our financial margin. We're going to talk a lot more about that financial margin and how we build that. How do you get there? Even if you don't have to be rich to have financial margin. It goes back to that first step, budgeting and tracking. see where it's going, and then we can start building out those different areas to get to your financial margin. Okay. That's going to be huge. So all 4 of these things we're going to touch on going forward. I'm going to refer back to these quite frequently as we go through the different aspects. So on the second page of this, you notice the same setup, but there's places for you to do your own assessment. So after this broadcast, I'm going to send this out, or we'll post it on the guide section rather. Please go ahead and look at it, download it, and take an assessment. This is just for you and your partner. Go through this. So on the stewardship, contentment, faith, and wisdom, you're going to rank yourself never to always, and be honest, because this is going to help you get in the right mindset to get into the right behavior. Over here on today's reality on your financial health, what percentage should equal up to 100% are going into these different categories? And you got a little worksheet down here, fill in the percentages so you know where everything's going. As we get through to more financial margin and financial freedom, you're going to see the O percentages going down and the other ones going up a little bit, right? So that's a great aspect there. I forgot to mention down here on the reflection, when you go through that heart, really think about your behaviors and where you ranked yourself here and what that laid on your heart, and just kind of jot that down for yourself under reflection. Then you go down to the bottom, same kind of thing, habits, 5 biblical principles that we talked about earlier, weak to strong, rate yourself there as well, just to give yourself a self-assessment. And then as you progress through this journey of getting to financial freedom and being better stewards, you can always go back and retake this and see what progress you've made, see where your mindset has changed a little bit. And then over here, go ahead and fill out the margin, draw a little arrow to where you think you are, right? And then down here you can make yourself some notes. What habits can you adopt or grow your margin where you think God wants to use you? You may or may not be able to fill that in now, but as we go through and talk about the different aspects that we're going to touch on in this group, that may become more clear to you. And then same thing here, how we realign your pie based on your increase in margin. So once you get that margin, how are you going to reallocate your percentages, up here? So highly encourage you, take this little assessment. I'm not going to ask for it, obviously, but you'll have it. If you want me to help you with it, I'm more than happy to, jump on a call or email me or whatever. I'm more than happy to help you with that. But this is a great self-assessment to see where your heart's at, to see where you're at in the realm of things financially. And the goal is to increase all those. And you got to be honest here, right? And again, we're going to refer back to each one of these as we go through the core principles. All right. So the next thing is setting priorities. So take a look at this real quick. We talked about opportunity costs last week and a little bit about priorities, but I wanted to lay this out. So we separated between the world's priorities and God's priorities, right? World's priorities has lifestyles number one. What do we always see out there? We're always keeping up with the Joneses, and people marketing to us to have the latest, greatest thing, and we're putting ourselves out there to seem like we more than we are, right? We're trying to keep up with a lifestyle. That's what the world wants us to do. And then taxes, that's another priority in the world, debt repayment, then saving and investing, and then giving, with the result of that priority order is overspending because your lifestyle's up top. That's your main priority. The giving and saving and investing is a little lower down. You're going to be overspending with that mindset. It goes back to what I said earlier on that part where we talked about, behavior following the heart, right? If you look at God's priorities, the number one thing there is giving. That's the productive aspect of your money. It sets the right tone. It sets the right mindset to where he wants our hearts to be. But you got to have financial margin to get there. So our goal through going through all this and helping you guys out is to flip that world's priority over to God's priorities. That should be your priorities as well. You're going to be a lot more content and happy following these principles, that we list down on God's principles. We're going to try to shift those priorities for you and flip those around. So, it's the first one's giving, the second one's saving and investing. Notice on the world's priorities, those are the last two. So we want to flip those. Saving and investing should be right after giving. Investing in your future and for your family and your happiness when you go to retire, or helping your family out, or leaving a legacy, whatever that means. And we're going to talk about all that as we go through. Debt repayment, you got to repay your obligations. Actually, next week we're going to talk about debt. We're going to start talking about debt. It'll probably be a multi-part thing. We're going to talk about how to properly handle debt, what's good debt versus bad debt, the different debt elimination processes, and my recommendation on how to do that, right? Repay your debts. Taxes, you got to pay your taxes, but it's not a priority. That's a given. It's not a priority. If you're doing all these other things, you'll have the provision, you'll have the margin to pay your taxes. And the last thing should be lifestyle. If you follow that priority, look at the result, contentment. We talked about earlier how hard it is to be content. Well, let's put the right formula in place. Let's put the right behaviors in place. Let's put the right mindset in place. And let's lean on God's word as well as sound financial principles to get you to that contentment. I know we all would rather be content versus being stressed out. That's a huge accomplishment to accomplish in your life for you and your family. And I want to help you get there. So that's one of the main goals of this financial Christian Families Financial group is let's flip those priorities on its head. Let's put the lifestyle down at the bottom. Even though I know everybody wants to have a great lifestyle, but if you're doing the right priorities, if you have the right mindset, you have the right behaviors, you have the right core principles in place, guess what? That lifestyle will follow along perfectly fine where you should be and where God wants you to be if you're doing all those other things properly. And let's get you to that contentment mindset, right? Or that contentment in your life financially and other places as well, right? So I'll post the setting priorities out there as well, along with the 4-H's for financial behavior. Take a look at those. I'll post theirs here out in a few minutes. Do me a favor, if you're watching this live, give me a hashtag live in the comments. If you're doing a replay, do a hashtag replay. If you're watching this on Facebook, again, you can always go out to the YouTube channel if you've missed it or having a hard time finding it on the Facebook group. As always, I'm here. If you can shoot me, DM me questions, shoot me an email, whatever it may be. Happy to help with any questions or things that you may need. And so that's it for tonight. This is really, like I said, between the treasure target and the 4-H's here and the priorities, this really gets us to set the foundation for everything going forward. And it builds upon what we talked about last week with the budgeting. So I hope this gets a great foundation. Hope it starts getting your mind kind of thinking and get ready for a mindset change if you're not already there. And then from going forward, we'll refer back to these, get to the core principles to get to that contentment. So guys, I hope you have a great and happy new year. Be safe. We'll pick up next week. We'll dive into the debt management. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. God bless, and we'll talk to you later.